Hopefully this works. Six minutes ago. So I'm just confused. I'm not sure if it's like a continuous stream or if it just keeps cutting out all the time. It's like a continuous stream or if it just keeps cutting out all the time. Okay, so I think this is most likely working. So we just flew here. We flew Toronto to Ottawa, and that's why the aircraft isn't cold and dark. It's somewhat powered up. We got APU power. We got ground power outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the new flight. So cabin lights on. Everything looks good. Let's get the flight plan in from SimBrief that I just generated. Ottawa, Boston. Perfect. We're going to keep running Air Canada 11. ATC is still online in Boston. We'll have to see if they'll be still online by the time we go. There is no ATC in Ottawa anymore, so we'll be doing a... we'll be just getting out of here on our own without any help. So, aircraft is loaded. Load sheet is right here. So, first things first. I mean, we could start with the performance. Flight factor aircraft, you can type directly into the CDU. So we'll be leaving Ottawa, which is the code is CYOW, and we'll be heading to Boston. KBOS. Whoops. There we go. And Ottawa today. We'll be departing let's have a look actually. Okay. Ottawa. So Ottawa is there's no ATIS. So I guess we'll come in on, can we even depart runway 7 in this type of aircraft? That seems a bit ridiculous. Let's see. Takeoff calculations. Should be fine. It's not a super long runway. Okay. Let's give it a go. So, we'll go with what's suggested here on SimBrief with our generated flight plan. So we will be running runway 7. You don't even really have to put it in here because it comes up later. Again, we'll be running Air Canada 11. Departures, Ottawa 4 departure. Oops, okay, there we go. Ottawa 4 departure. Runway 7 is a route. Activate, execute. Right. So let's have a look at our legs here. Okie dokie. That's the purser actually talking to us. My audio wasn't that good in the first flight, but you actually, in this flight factor aircraft, you actually need to make contact with the purser and the ground crew. Otherwise, you can't really get them to do anything, and then you're stuck. The first time I was just sitting here like screaming because I couldn't get anything done. But you can click. This is to talk to like Vatsim and stuff. Ground is over here. Purser. Let's see what she wants to say.
I am all ears.
Sir, we have completed the boarding.
Thank you.
Excellent. So they've completed the boarding. Perfect. So let's get the rest of our flight plan set up in the box. So, Ottawa for departure, then direct to Codex. Another beautiful thing of the flight factor is that you can put the waypoints right in. You can type it in with your keyboard. You don't need to click with the mouse, which was kind of annoying in other aircraft. Okay, and then we're going direct at Mach. There we go. Codex at Mach. Then direct Senna. Oops. Then direct Bugsy. Bugsy. And then direct the Echo November Echo VOR here, and that's it. So we'll execute that. The arrivals in Boston, Ottawa to Boston. So the arrival in Boston should be, according to the flight plan, unless ATC decides to give us something else, will be the Ocean 5 Echo November Echo transition. And our flight plan has us set up for ILS 27. We'll see what the controller wants to do. We won't set a transition for that. We'll just go from final. Have a look at the legs page. Does it look good? And it does. Excellent. Performance time. Get this boring stuff out so we can get into the air. So, we've loaded up our load sheet here after loading the aircraft based on metrics like weight, catering, passengers, blah, 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 blah. We will be carrying, I think, around 331 passengers to Boston. Gross weight, we have it on our load sheet here. So that's our takeoff weight, 468.2 metric tons. It's a lot of weight for a 777. Whoops. Clip that into the wrong spot. 468.2. Jesus. Okay, there we go. Reserves. So reserves is in the flight plan. It's a calculation based on a few things, including your alternate airport. We should put aside like 4.8 reserve. There we go. Our cruising altitude to Boston is flight level 350. For non-flight simmers out there, this box basically is going to allow the autopilot to know what's going on. We put everything in here from the waypoints, the wind, takeoff metrics, everything. So, the takeoff calculations are done. So based on the runway length, etc., it's a derated takeoff to 10% derate. The cell temperature, which is like something about the temperature of the air near the engines or something like that. Flaps, it's going to be a flap 5 takeoff. Our CGs, our center of gravity, that's over here. It's the Mach number. You round to the nearest whole unit. So in this case, 31 should be appropriate. Again, this is to just give the autopilot everything it needs for success. The speeds, the V speeds here, your takeoff speeds are noted. I wait and go to the next page and put the wind in first because those could change. We already got the ATIS here in Ottawa. The wind is coming from 160. Okay. 160 at 8 knots. So there's the wind for you. The ref, that's your ambient outside temperature. In Ottawa right now it's 0 degrees Celsius, not that warm. So back here, takeoff speeds are available. Click them in, and we have all that in the box. After setting up the performance, you go back to your legs page, and now look, at every fucking spot. Oops, I don't know if I can say that on here. every spot you have speeds and altitudes, and you can follow up your flight from there. I like to run the legs page on the captain side. I like to run the takeoff stuff on the first officer side. So I'm running the Honeycomb Bravo. Let's set our indicated airspeed for like a climb. I find this aircraft, usually ATC, close to airports, you're going to be usually staying around 250 knots. I think this 777 climbs pretty well at 280 knots. So that's good. Just getting a few things set up. I do have Navigraph running on another tablet, so I can have a look. Once I get better at streaming, I will figure out how to get some of these HUDs up on the screen to make it a bit more fun, so we can look at the departures together. So runway heading 071. I always like to put that in just because if anything ever goes wrong, you can just flip autopilot heading mode, and then you'll fly in a straight line and ATC won't think you're retarded if they're online, if you're dealing with Vatsim. Okay, so that is that. You do want to look at your map here and make sure that what you put in the box makes sense. So usually the departure, you'll take off, you'll fly this vector, and then ATC will eventually clear you to go directly to your route, depending on other aircraft spacing, etc., etc. Since there's no aircraft online today, we'll probably just take off, fly the vector for not very long, and then we'll just clear ourselves to the next waypoint, which is Codex. And yep, so we have everything in the box. Everything is good. We have the radios on. What next? So we can basically ask the purser to close the door. Actually, she's calling us.
All ears.
Okay, now we're calling her. Oh, okay. So I have her on the phone. I'm gonna ask her to close these doors, the passenger doors. So I just click
Please
close all doors.
Certainly.
Just gonna wait a sec here.
We need that door open.
I have no
Should
idea
I
why she's
disarm the
going.
doors first?
Definitely not.
All doors to manual mode.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All disarmed and checked.
So that was a bit wonky. So the doors are closed. Now we're gonna arm
Doors
them.
to automatic.
Yes, sir. All doors are armed and checked.
Excellent, excellent. So that's done. If you look outside, the passengers are all tucked in and our doors are closed. Excellent. So now we get on the phone with the ground people. You have to call them, otherwise it doesn't
Yes, sir.
work. So now that that's done, I usually just do the quick stuff through captain's commands. Have them remove all ground equipment. First, make sure the APU is on. If it is not,
Very well, sir.
when they disconnect the external power, your aircraft basically shuts down, and that's not good and scary for passengers. So once that's done, we've removed all ground equipment. We are going to ask them to get out of there. So close hatches and get personnel away from the plane. We're about to push
Please
back.
close all hatches and remove all personnel. We are ready to pressurize the hydraulics.
Of course, sir. Pressurize.
Progress switch.
Excellent. So that's pretty much done. He said that we could pressurize the hydraulics. That's, I believe this. No smoking signs should be on. And then the rest of this stuff we will get to. For now, we just have like the air running, some electrical, and let's get the engines going. First, we're going to set up the pushback. I'm looking at Navigraph. So based on where we're situated on the runway, we're going to want to do a pushback to the right. So let's do exactly that. They have a little pushback feature here. So start pushback. You have to actually have to drive the tug yourself.
Set parking
Really
brake,
cool
please.
Parking
add-on
brake is
from
set.
Flight Factor who made this aircraft. Just make sure we are connected to Vatsim. So now I am controlling the tug. So now I control this with my yoke actually, and I think I could just drive through these things. It's not the most immersive thing, but I think my aircraft is right here. Is that possible? Yes, it is. So I've gone a bit too far, so gas back, this back. Let's drive the other way. Oh shit, okay. Okay, this is actually the fork. Get out of my way. So, you need to go, we need to essentially line up with the nose gear. I've only done this a few times. I usually use the better pushback plugin. You also don't need to use the view from the tug. I use it just to clip onto the wheel, but then I will change the view. So as you line up with the nose gear, you're going to see there's a HUD on the bottom and a white dot's going to appear. You want to line that dot up with the green and stop right there. We might be too far. Let's just bring it back a little bit. And there we go. And if it's good, we should be able to click on this dot. We can't, so it's not good yet. Whoops, now it's definitely, we've done damage, I guess. What am I doing? Okay, yeah, backwards. Green dot, the white dot in the green. Click on this button. That's what the lore says. Why isn't it working? Maybe now. That is very strange. Okay, let's go back into the cockpit. The brakes are on. Everything should be working here theoretically. Let's back out of here and try it again. Maybe something happened. So now we're pulling the tug away. Sorry guys, this is really a bit annoying here. I want to get in the air as well. Okay, so tug's driving the wrong way. No good. Okay, so how am I this terrible? Okay, so we are perfectly lined up. Theoretically, if we get this white dot into the green. Why isn't this working? I'm completely lost, guys. If this doesn't work in a sec, I'm just gonna pull up the better pushback plugin. This just worked on the flight from Toronto to Ottawa. I don't get it. Is the nose gear moving? Okay. Start pushback. We've already done that. Tug camera. Tug speed.
We changed our mind. Please remove the pushback truck.
Yeah,
Affirmative.
let's get rid of this truck. Truck's gone. My nose gear isn't in trouble. Let's try it one more again. Maybe it is a beta, this aircraft. The flight factor V2 777.
Guys, we are ready for the pushback.
Please set the brakes.
Parking brake set.
Brakes are set. Okay, so nose gear is right there. Take 2. Switch direction. Okay, now I have the HUD, the line. You see? That's what I was wondering was missing, like that arrow. Now we're directly in front, according to the arrow, although it doesn't look that as lined up. But I should be able to grab it from here. Let's go back just a pinch. Stop. Very strange. Okay, this is the last try. Directly lined up in front of it. It's almost harder to drive the tug than to fly the Boeing aircraft. It's getting ridiculous. Okay, this is broken. I'm broken.
Release brakes.
Finally, okay, we got it. Okay, releasing the brakes.
Parking brake is released.
Pushing back.
Okay, so now we also need to initiate the pushback, so let's just give some torque. And while the aircraft is moving, let's go. Typically this is when we start powering up the big jets, especially in the 747. Very large, beautiful engines. This is the button that brings the fuel in, and we can monitor the engine spooling up here. So the reason why we start one engine at a time is because the auxiliary power system, the APU, is actually not strong enough to light up both of these bad boys at the same time. So we light up the one on the right. Oops, I gotta drive the tow. Jesus. Okay. Now we're good, we're good. The taxi line's back here. So the right engine is spooling up. We're pushing back. We're just gonna get him to line us up right here. You can hear that beautiful engine lining up. Let's take the torque away from the tow. He's pretty much done. This engine looks like it's good. So you can check up here. There's a little camera glitch.
Fuel jettison nozzle left switch.
Fuel jettison? I don't think so. So now this engine's on. It clicks back from start to norm. So now we can start the next engine. We can bring up the hydraulics on the right side. Fuel pumps on the right side. Seat belts on. Smoking's already on. We can bring up the strobe light starting engines. Anti-ice can come on at this point. So now we need to disconnect the tug.
Set brakes.
Brakes are set.
Brakes are set.
Okie dokie. So now engine's not starting. Why? Because we didn't click here, send gas to the engine, get the load sheet out of here. So we got gas coming. We can turn on the pumps. If you forget to turn on the pumps, you'll get like oil pressure here will be very low, and I guess it's not the safest way to fly an airliner. Okay, so that's good. Okay, we can bring on the new flight directors. Second engine is lighting up just fine. Bring on the hydraulics. Fuel pumps are on. Can bring on the taxi lights, runway lights. So now, is this guy disconnected? Disconnect.
Thanks. See you at the hand signals.
See you at the hand signals. So let's get this truck out of here. We actually have to drive the tug again. I'm so done with this. Okay, so that's done. This guy's there.
Thanks.
Say thanks.
Keep your shirt on.
Okay. Perfect. So engine's on. That's where I like to set the trim. Takeoff trim's 4. It's already set to 4. Takeoff flaps 5. We will set flaps 5 right here. We're getting a call from the cabin. Let's see what the purser's got to say.
Captain, the catering loading is complete.
Should have
Thank
been
you
done a
very
while
much.
ago. Altimeter setting here is 2997. Let's set that up. 2997. Excellent. So now that's all set. We can go ahead and taxi out to the runway. So we will be taxiing over here. Apron. Alpha. Wait, actually, yeah, we're really close. It's going to be a short taxi. If we can make a left turn onto Charlie, that would be great. Just want to make sure. Okay, you see when they unclip the toe. Why is this?
Pushback complete.
Show me the pin.
Show me the pin. Okay, that's the
Equipment
last one.
removed. Pin in my hand.
Much appreciated.
Gate to gate. We'll turn
Till
on the
next
clock
time.
here. Till next time. Perfect. So, nose gear is free. Test out your flight controls, rudder pedals. Everything's good. Let's kick up the throttles a bit. Release the parking brake. Spool up these engines here. Not too much. We're going to try to make a tight left turn. Get onto this taxiway here because the runway is just off to our left. Very close. These large aircraft make very wide turns. So here we go. You don't want to follow the blue lines because that means you're pretty much off into the grass. Okay, aircraft's making a turn here. It's just a bit heavy. Whoops, I'm not perfectly
Approaching 3, 2.
So usually, you know, you look both ways before you cross the street and the runway. ATC, if they're online, you need to hold short there and they're going to clear you across the runway. But since ATC is offline right now in Ottawa, we're on our own, guys. So if we wrap around this corner, turn on our landing lights here.
Approaching
Oh shit, hit the brakes. It's a very, very difficult turn to make. Is there an issue with the hydraulics? I feel like I'm not getting that steering power. Definitely looking okay up here. How about down here? Have a look outside. The nose gear is definitely working well. Okay, so now we are technically still online, so I'm going to make the call out on Vatsim. Air Canada 11 Heavy, Ottawa traffic.
Approaching 7.
Ready for takeoff, runway 7. So no one's on the approach. You could see them in the sky. We're going to spool back the engines. We'll never make this turn. Alright, so we creep onto the runway.
On runway 7.
Let's put the engines up, try to stabilize at 40%. And then from there, press the toga buttons. Once the auto throttles are enabled, toga. Engines start spooling up to that D-rated setting that we had. At this point, I'm using the nose wheel tiller, which is set up to a joystick I'm holding in my left hand. Once we get to like 100 knots like here, now we have enough air that I can control the aircraft with the rudder pedals. So now I'm hands off the tiller. We've hit V1,
3,000 feet.
pull back on the
remaining.
yoke, just like that.
2,000
Very large,
feet
heavy
remaining.
Boeing aircraft in the sky. So you don't want to chase the flight directors too much, but this looks just about good. Give a positive rate, so we're going to bring up the landing gear. And now we just want to trim the aircraft a bit, nose down, fly that vector manually. Beautiful day here, or night, Ottawa. Just pulling off. Usually here, if there's like a departure controller online, you tune in, you tell them your altitude, where you're like, what you're climbing to. So you'd say like, hello, approach Air Canada 11 Heavy with you. We're 1,300 to 5,000. Say the departure has you're cleared to 5,000. So now it says altitude alert because in my MCU I just had it at 1,300. I usually set that to around 5,000 before. I think the departure gear calls for that. So it was telling me that I was approaching my altitude. So at this point you're around 2,200. We can engage autopilot. The aircraft is nice and trimmed. Autopilot's still not really flying anywhere, so we can click LNAV. So it's going to follow this purple line that we set up before in the box. So now we're flying the vector like I explained, and ATC would typically start clearing you to your path. We're going to bring flaps up because if you can see, we're like approaching our flap speed. I'm going to turn the auto throttles off just so that we can climb with the engines gunned to the wall, which is not usually what they do. Hold on, I'm just going to pull the nose up so we don't airspeed. This sounds like terrible news, but it's actually not that bad. That's just a noise saying I took the autopilot down. So just stabilize the speed a bit here. So what happened is it was overspeeding because we had hit our altitude. Whoops. Okay, so the autopilot won't come on just yet. We need engine power. So this could be like a little test. If you see, if we get any slower than this, you see the stall speed coming up. So now I've gunned the engines back. We're still climbing, we're just fine. Let's bring this up higher than 5,000. Flaps are up, we're on a clean configuration. That wasn't like the cleanest departure anyways. Now we bring like the autopilot back on. Have the aircraft, it's gonna speed up to 250 knots, but since the auto throttle is off, it's not going to taper back once it hits 250 knots. So it's going to drop the nose down just like that. So what you want to do here is pull the nose up again and bring the throttles back so you don't get that overspeed. That noise is just the sound of the autopilot coming off. So what I think is a nice envelope for climb is 280 in this aircraft. Say air traffic controller is cleared. They'll say like direct to codex, so then you can click codex, replace the vector with that, execute that in the box, and then you can bring your autopilot back on. And then it's gonna use the LNAV, whoops, and it's now gonna fly this purple line basically straight to codex. Gonna give more power to the engine, and then you're gonna see we're basically gonna speed up. Let's assume, you know, at codex, like we were cleared codex around 18,000 feet. We're just gonna, why is it overspeed? That is, do we have like a notch of flaps out or something? What the hell's going on? Oh, we do. See here, we still had a notch of flaps. It's actually weird. On my Honeycomb Bravo, it wasn't actually showing that, which is weird. So let's pitch the nose down here. Okay, it's going to be the end of our problems here. I know this looks it's a bit noob there. I mean, I'm not a pro either, but this is ridiculous newbie situations. Okay, so we're good. We were flying with a notch of flaps, and what happens is that the flaps overspeed fast once you start picking up speed. So I'm setting like a climb profile with like a notch of flaps open, so that's definitely a no-no. Nothing would have likely happened. It's just kind of like you need to overspeed a lot for the aircraft to sustain like damage, but it's telling you like, you know, slow down, or, you know, in this case remove the flaps. So autopilot is doing its job. Let's click flight level change, and it's basically going to start climbing up here. You see how the aircraft is speeding up because we have the engines walled with the auto throttles off. But now, watch this. As long as you bring the altitude above 8,600, so what the autopilot's going to do is it's going to pitch the nose up by itself now to bleed off this extra speed. But the altitude is climbing fast, so let me just keep bringing this up. Say we want to climb to like our... I'm not going to grab the yoke this time and fix it. Okay, it's getting a bit excessive here. So bleed off the speed, pull up the yoke, and then you can bring the auto throttle. It's a bit of a sloppy flight. I'm not sure why this is so ridiculous. So engines back. What are we actually cleared to? Flight level 350 to Boston. I don't get it. The aircraft is not climbing. Still more overspeed. This is all good. Even with the auto throttles off, the way flight level change works is that the aircraft is going to control its pitch to climb at 280 and then give you a profile. See, now it's starting to, you know, just slipped a bit under, but it's going to adjust its pitch to climb to, say, the set altitude is 26,000 feet, and I set 280 knots. It's going to adjust the pitch to climb at this profile. Obviously, the faster you go with this type of aircraft, you're not going to be pitching up as high. If you pitch the nose down, your airspeed is going to go up rapidly. This is common knowledge, as we just saw. So we are on track to codec after some shambles here on takeoff. Doing just fine. Okay, the cruise was 35. Let's get it up there. 35,000. 35,000 feet. Okie dokie, and we're at an altitude where now the local altimeter setting is no longer relevant, so we're going to switch to standard, which is 29.92 inches of mercury, which is like connected, it's based on sea level. While we're flying, I always like to look at the box here. Okay, codex is a heading of 202. I always like to match, we're not flying on heading mode. If you click on heading mode, you can set the heading here. But I like to match this to what's in the box. So if anything ever happens, like if something happens to the aircraft or if your nav stops working, you can just like click the select button, aircraft switches to heading mode, essentially continues flying in a straight line while you can troubleshoot. And if there's ATC online, if you start to divert off path, they'll start calling you saying like, hey, Air Canada 11, like what are you doing? So it's always good. So Codex 202 at Mach 127. So you can see that purple line moving, and then you can just line it up perfectly. Aircraft is in a turn, climbing beautifully at the set speed of 280. Had a bit of issues starting off, but we're looking gorgeous. Also, while I was dealing with that stuff in the beginning, I forgot to turn off our landing lights. Usually you turn these off after climbing a few thousand feet. Rest looks good. APU, we can turn it off since our engines are good. I usually leave the APU on just for a bit in case you have an engine failure after takeoff, which doesn't happen a lot in the sim, but if you do, you need those APU, you need the auxiliary power units so you can try to restart your engines. Also, when you start getting out of cruise and you start descending, getting close to your landing airport, you can bring your APUs back online in case you need to troubleshoot the engines, or when you get to the gate, you can keep the aircraft powered while you while the passengers deplane and you get the ground crew over there to plug you in. So that's that. Aircraft's climbing to 35,000 feet. It's tracking EPMOC. You know, you can go here. I like to zoom out a bit, have a look at, you know, where we're heading. The top of climb, the top of descent. So in cruise, it's not going to be a long cruise. We're going to get to Boston. I'm going to check the weather in Boston on my tablet and see also at the same time if there's any air traffic control online. Boston Center is still online, so let's tune into Boston Center because they're probably going to be trying to talk to us shortly. So Boston is, or is he just, oh, I think the may have just logged out actually. It's fine. It's late. It's my first time streaming. I'm really just testing it out. Oh no, Boston's still online. Just trying to test this out and see if it's feasible, and probably continue streaming. So let's connect to Boston. They're on 134.7 on Vatsim. So usually when you connect to a controller on Vatsim, you're gonna want to tell them like our speed, like our altitude, like what we're climbing to, and like, you know, where we are. I'm gonna tell him how many miles off Senna. He's gonna find us and they radar contact, identify, climb, descend, blah blah blah, or maintain, which is what he's most likely gonna say. So let's see what's going on. Let's call him up now. Also here, since I was talking to the purser, you do need to click back to this button to speak on Vatsim. See if he reads. Boston Center, Air Canada 11. Do you read? Let's see. It's showing him as online. 134.7. That's what we have in the box. 134.7. Yeah. So when we get to 35,000, usually we can taper back on throttles so that we don't overspeed the aircraft. And we can always bring the auto throttles
Boston
back.
Center, or for those Air Canada 11, I believe. Boston Center, welcome. Maintain flight level 350.
Air Canada 11 Heavy maintaining flight level 350. Okay, so he was a bit busy. Boston Center is usually extremely busy, but I mean at this time of night on a Monday, I just decided on a whim. I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'd like to start streaming. You know, why not? You know, I'm not even like the best pilot or whatever. Just been doing this for like a year and a half or something, and recently upgraded my setup. So now, giving this a go, and tried streaming before. The sound was good, but my voice couldn't be heard. Did a short flight from Toronto to Ottawa, and then now picking up Ottawa to Boston after doing some listing quick and then figuring out and tweaking some settings. Weird stuff going on Kick. It took like my 1 hour stream and made like a bunch of 2-minute VODs. I was like, what? I read online and found out on Reddit that if you're having poor performance, it does that. So I think I fixed the settings. We should be in business. I'm not really expecting to have anyone watching. It's my first one.
United 5, we're back in the Southeast. United 5, roger.
Some aircraft in the area
Air
there.
Canada 11, clear direct Boston Airport.
Air Canada 11 cleared towards Boston Airport. Thank you. So he cleared us straight to Boston. So what does that mean is all of these
United
waypoints.
528, expect from runway 27 approach. Verify you have information, Juliet.
We skip out all these runways, the vector, everything. He's going to basically control the flight. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put, we don't even have it in the box, so we're going to put KBOS in here. KBOS is the code for Boston. KBOS.
528, expect dial
We're going to put that in the box right here.
Verify you have information, Juliet.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to click this to highlight it, bring it back to the page where we're tracking Bugsy. So we're going to replace Bugsy with KBOS.
United 528.
And now it has just deleted everything we have, and it's sending us to Boston Airport in a direct line. We're going to be at Boston 200 miles.
United 528, okay.
Once we're done climbing, we should be going fast. I think what he wants to do, you know, he's probably going to give me a quicker shortcut direct route. When we get closer to the airport, obviously I'm not just going to fly right into it. As we get close, he's probably going to give me radar vectors to the right or to the left, sending me on a downwind. And then after that,
528
if he gives me an ILS or an RNAV, we can then plug the approach into the box here and then fly precision approach. If the weather's good, we're cleared for a visual. Then once he puts us on the downwind, typically ATC will be like, do you have the airport in sight? I don't know, so many miles to your right, 2 o'clock, whatever. And then once you report in sight, you know, you do your stuff and you bring it in for a landing. So at this point, we are cruising at 35,000. You can turn the seatbelt signs off.
0500 Bravo, Boston.
As the speed goes up, you're going to want to bring the throttles back so you don't overspeed the aircraft. But the beauty of flying is that, like, at these high altitudes, it's efficient. So you want to be flying the aircraft as fast as you kind of can without overspeeding it. Is, I guess, in simple terms, the idea.
Go ahead. Just now,
So for anyone who's not familiar, Vatsim is a live air traffic controller community. Like, I'm flying a plane. These are humans that are like gaming as air traffic controller. But trust me, even me as a pilot, I wouldn't really. I understand what's going on, but you need to pass a few tests to get into Vatsim network.
Just fly the approaches.
So we're going to switch auto throttle back on.
November 0.
Get the aircraft to fly right under the limit. Now, when we get to around, typically these, like this 777, probably going to fly no faster than Mach 0.76, or it can go up to Mach 0.82. In real life, you're not going to want to gun the engines to 100%. Usually you derate this for a climbing profile, and it also saves fuel. We're in the sim. I'm just kind of testing this out. I want to get there as fast as possible. So that's why I gun the engines on the climb. And now we're just going to be flying, like, we're flying at 0.88 in a 777. We're flying. Ground speed of 498 knots. It's like almost 1,000 kilometers an hour. It's fast. You can do the calculation. So that's that.
United 528, how do you copy?
United 528.
I'm going to brief the weather quick, fast in Boston. We don't know the runway yet, but I'm going to look at some, I'm going to run some numbers for the landing.
Expect the LS runway 27 approach. Verify you have Juliet.
We do have the numbers for Boston and...
Let's get Juliet on board here. That's the code for the weather ATIS. So when he asks us, make sure we have Juliet on board as well. And what Juliet is right now is winds at 340.05 knots, temperature 06, low -2, altimeter setting 3001. Right now they're running the ILS on runway 27, and they're departing on runway 33 left. Okay. ILS, for those who don't know, is a precision landing. that utilizes radio frequencies on the ground to guide the aircraft down. So pilots can fly into an airport with virtually zero visibility depending on the category of the ILS. You can look, I have it set up on Navigraph here. Once I get better at streaming, I'll figure out a way to get some of these HUDs up on the screen so we can like brief these approaches so you guys can see like the maps and basically the procedures that we need to fly coming into the airport. But all that to say is that yeah, depending on you look at the chart and then it'll tell you like, okay, this is the type of ILS it is, and it'll tell you the minimum amount of altitude which you'll set up here, and then you'll get this voice saying like minimum. So if you're like breaking out of the clouds on like an overcast day, very low to the ground, if you're still in the clouds when you're reaching the minimums, then it is a mandatory go around. ATC will make you fly some circles until you can come in and land properly, legally. And if like after some time, if it's not clearing up, then you're going to go to your alternate airport where weather is probably better. Maybe. So we're flying a straight line to Logan. As we get closer, you know, this aircraft can basically stay like 19 hours in the sky. So you can have it set to like 640. I like to keep it around like, I don't know, 80, 40, keep the airport in sight, so we'll keep it here for now. We're basically max speed. Sometimes you don't want to run the aircraft to its max limit like this too, because if you have like a tailwind, your indicated speed is going to be the same, but you're actually going to be going slightly faster. And when you're running on the edge, it's really easy to overspeed your aircraft. It's at night, you don't really see that much, but it is what it is. I'll do some daytime flights as well, most likely. So everything looks kind of good, feels kind of good. We'll do more of the landing stuff as we get closer to the airport. We still have some time on our hands.
United 528,
I like to follow this program page here. Usually tracks your waypoints, this and that. Now we just have Boston Airport in the box, so we'll see. We'll see what's good with that. Basically looking great. They did a great job with this aircraft, by the way. Let's, okay, we never locked the flight deck door. Okay. If we come over here, unlock this, we can swing this door open. And while we're in cruise, let's just go look at the fantastic job flight factor it's done. It's a bit wonky to move around in here, sorry guys. You gotta like move sideways. It's really weird. So, why does it only move fast this way? So this is Lux. Look at this. Okay, it's saying I'm like losing frames, which makes sense. So this is like the really expensive first class. Hold on, I'm gonna get disconnected from the network for low frames. I'm just gonna get out of the aircraft for a sec. Oh, there we go. Let's reconnect to Vatsim. So on Microsoft Flight Simulator, it doesn't do that, but on Vatsim, it does. For Xplane, where if your frames drop lower than 20, you disconnect from the voice channel. I mean, it's just my first flight. I'm just testing stuff. I'll do like maybe a better version where we checked out the first class, but we can make it all the way to the back and
Southwest 945, taxi to the Ram,
peasants
cross runway
sit
16.
us basically.
Taxi to the Ram, cross runway 16.
No exception. Very nice model here. Let me try to get to the back before it disconnects me.
Center, good morning. Looking for 460 Super checking in.
I'm definitely going to figure out a way. I think there's like a plug-in to like move the camera around better.
United
Yeah, there's like
528,
more
turn
first
right
class
heading
here.
250, on the localizer.
250, clear to the localizer, runway 27.
And that's where the
528.
peasants sit
Lufthansa.
back there. And it disconnected us. 4K is like, you could be running a 480 Super with like a 7800 X3D and still
We have two
lag out.
expect
I'm also
ILS
running this on a
27
55-inch
approach,
TV, so it's a bit taxing.
United 528, 5 miles from Ripon. Maintain 3000 until established on the localizer. Cleared ILS runway 27 approach.
So when he says clear to the localizer, so when you see here, there's this purple triangle down here lining you up on the ground, and then you have another triangle here.
Descend to maintain flight level 240.
Flight level 240 for Air Canada 11. So basically the localizer is this, the lateral guidance, and then the vertical guidance is the glide slope, and together the localizer and the glide slope is what you call an ILS precision approach. So that's that. So when you just told a guy like you're clear for the localizer, it's turning him into the ILS, to the radio frequency path, to get onto the glide slope. But usually you lock onto the localizer first, and he's like, once you're on the localizer, they clear you for the ILS, and then you usually like report back saying like, okay, I'm on the glide slope. There's a way to set your altitude in your aircraft for that to happen. So now we set the this MCU down to 24,000 because that's what he just told us to do. I'm gonna like speed down the aircraft back to like maybe 0.82, just because even with auto throttles on, you could overspeed the aircraft on the way down. It's possible.
All right, copy the winds. Clear line runway 27 for United 528.
So that is that. Everything's good. So basically the aircraft, how this works on flight level change is that if I set the speed to 0.82 Mach or the indicated airspeed, it actually doesn't start the descent until it goes down to this speed. So I let this go down, so if it goes down depending on the weather or whatever, we have some buffer here before overspeed.
Clear direct to Ebony.
Makes sense, I guess.
Clear direct Avenue.
Now that it's reached 0.82 or just slightly lower, the autopilot detects that, okay, cool, we're lower than my set speed that we put into the box here on the top. So now it's coming out of our cruising altitude. This is also when they tell you to put the chips and the crackers away. The seat belts sign comes back on. Everything here looks kind of good. We can restart our APU. So if we have engine failure low to the ground, we can restart. 26 minutes. That was from the gate, not even from the runway. So very fast flight. If you fly from Ottawa to Boston, they're probably going to fly you out there at like 0.76 Mach, a couple hours. But these aircraft, like, they're built to actually take a bit more. But for passenger safety, there's like 400 people on here. They're not going to AWOL the engines and run these bad boys like on full blast all the way. But you can, and make like Ottawa, Boston in like 30 minutes or something, maybe a bit more. We are, you know, it's
Air
about
Canada 11, descend and maintain 1000, the Manchester altimeter 3000.
okay. Air Canada 11, that is us. So you see, we told us to go down to 24, but we're not even yet at 24. We're not going down that fast. You can usually descend without the speed brakes. In this case, we're a bit high. We're coming in hot, and he's clearing
Air
us now.
Canada 11, descend and maintain 1000, the Manchester altimeter 3000.
Roger, sorry, I forgot to read back. Descending to 1000, Manchester altimeter 3000. Thank you. So, as we get lower to the ground, we'll put in the local altimeter they just gave us, the Manchester VOR, which we are passing over probably right now. We don't have it in the box because we were cleared directly to Boston. So let's just make sure this doesn't stop our descent at 24,000. Let's keep the knob going down to 1000. Perfect. So now the aircraft is just gonna come down all the way. It's gonna level off by itself at 11,000. Gotta watch the speed, make sure we're not overspeeding, make sure we're not hitting some weird pockets of air, stuff like that. Over the course of the flight, you know, first officer is like looking here, making sure we don't have a fuel leak. You know, these things happen too. You can set up the sims for problems to happen. Make sure electrical, everything looks good, cool. We're on our second flight too, and there's nothing got damaged on the last
United
one.
528, turn right on Kilo.
Doors,
Cross
no
runway
catastrophic
2, cross runway 4 left, and join Alpha to the ramp.
Okay, we're clear across at Echo.
So we'll probably go
and then
all the way
Alpha
down
to the gate
with the speed brakes on.
for United
I heard watching some
528
pilot channels that
after
like when the speed brakes like this here, when the speed brakes are armed, the pilot will always keep his hand on the speed brake just to make sure that like they don't forget it on, because what ends up happening is that, you know, you're looking out the window, you're flying on, and all of a sudden, like, you're looking at your airspeed, and then, like, your stall signs are coming on and stuff, because it can happen right quick. It can happen very quick. So you want to be weary of just leaving the speed brake on. It sounds dumb, but it will catch you off guard. So now we... Okay, that was weird. We restarted the APU, so you can check here on the stat page. And then you can see the APU's RPM's 99, APU's running. So now APU is on. So if we have any issues, we have auxiliary power to restart the engines. When we're on the ground, we can taxi to the gate and shut down and deplane before talking to ground. Because what happened here is now in this flight factor aircraft,
Control current Boston information, Kilo now, current Boston altimeter 3001.
you gotta like talk to purser and the ground through this box. So what ends up happening is that my first time is like trying to pull away and fly, and nothing can get done until you say hi to your crew, which makes sense. In real life, no pilot would just like not say hi to anybody and fly his stuff. So I understand they're trying to make it as real as possible. Also for like the loading, you can do the simplified loading like I did with a flight plan generated from SimBrief, like set it up. Or you can do it all manually where you can like literally drive the tug yourself, control the fuel trucks and the weight, the catering, the whole shebang. So now we're getting low enough so that our standard altitude is no longer key. So we go back to local, and he said that the Boston altimeter was 3,000. So we'll just set that in right there. And he's descended us to 1,000. So you see the aircraft now is leveling off by itself at 1,000. And now we're going to want to start bleeding off this speed. 300 knots on the approach is extremely fast. You're dead if you try to land at this speed. So let's reduce speed to, 270 knots and see if he makes us go down to 250. I always try to stay a bit ahead. I find this aircraft is very, very large, and it does bleed off speed kind of quick. You can come in a bit hot in the 777 and bleed that speed off on like short final. It can happen. So we're approaching Boston Logan. It's a nice little approach. They got the airport out like on like some strip of water or something like that. I'm from Montreal. Try to fly and get more scenery in, but there's a lot of that late night like this. You won't have a lot of ATC online. The guys from Boston, they game a lot of ATC. They're over there on Vatsim, I'll tell you that much. So he's probably gonna give us more descent clearances. I'm not gonna like bug him yet and say like Air Canada 11 like make me descend more or something. You see, speed brakes extended, so we're gonna want to close that. You see the aircraft's gonna react a bit. Closing like the ducts on the top, it's like killing the lift. So now initially it pulls the nose down. It's gonna stabilize. Auto throttle is doing its work here. I'm asking it to sit
American
around 270.
1042, turn left heading 010.
Okay.
Left 010, American 1042.
Boston, what's this? Some airport over there. You can literally zoom forever. That's like really a bad piece of scenery there. I won't tell Laminar it's all that. Whoops. Yeah, let's make sure the cockpit door is locked. No terrorism allowed. Squawk code good. Charlie good. Mic here off. Purser's not calling. He didn't give us a runway yet, so I have no idea about the landing performance, the amount of flaps, the auto brakes we're gonna have to use.
Boston Center,
Most likely flap 30 though. It's set up for a flap 30.
IFR clearance to Teterboro.
This guy's flying.
0500, Bravo Boston Center, your previously issued clearance is valid, advised ready to taxi. Previously issued clearance is validated, thank you so much. November 050 Sierra Bravo.
So weird. Okay. Alright, so They even have everything modeled here, like from the, whoops, there's this phone here. But even these armrests come down. Look at that. God damn, look at that. Beautiful texture, flight factor, aircraft. I don't think there's a lot of 777s out. A lot of people talk about PNG. I haven't flown any of the other 777s, but they've done a great job. Even here, you can simulate some problems. The other day, I was out here pulling out breakers, resetting systems.
American 1042, turn 10 degrees left, descend to maintain
Quite
3000.
the model, I would
10
say.
left down to 3000 American 1042.
So I'm just gonna brief. What am I
Boston
gonna
Center,
brief?
Mount 8401, in the Grand Caravan on the ramp of Province. We're looking for IFR clearance.
So we're still like
We have the weather that we can do.
we're still like 60 miles off Boston. So like it's a bit early to start descending. He brought us down fairly quick, I would say.
But Martha's Bay Airport, maintain 2000, expect 3000, 1 minutes after departure, squawk 555.
Let's clear to Martin Vineyard as file. So we get 2000, and then we'll go to 3000.
That's definitely not the runway where we're going to be landing.
3 for Mountain.
But that is Boston, so we might go around the water and come back. I don't know. I think that might be, yeah, it's got to be 50 miles. I mean, it looks a bit close. Okay. Once we get close, get on the approach, short final. I don't know what kind of approach he's going to give us, but it's a nice day, no weather, so probably going to fly the visual and disable the autopilot and the auto throttles, and then bring the plane down by hand. So now I'll bring this down to zoom in. Still don't have it up on the map from 20 to 40, but it should come up soon.
Over 5 Sierra Bravo,
I'd like to have the approach up
squawk.
on this side if we do find the
Okay, actually, the network it's the wrong call sign. So you need to come back in as 50 Sierra Bravo. So if you can come back with the
Is
correct
that
call
me
sign,
lagging or is that him
we
lagging?
can go.
I'm hearing ATC all.
American 1042, turn left heading 280, intercept the localizer.
280 to intercept the localizer, American 1042.
Okay. So November 050, Sierra Bravo, request. Thank you, now you need to squawk 7027.
Squawking 027, November 50 Sierra Bravo.
United 5, I take it from the fact that you're doing time acceleration that you are ready to leave my airspace, so it's change approved. Have a good flight. Boston Center, can you please repeat the squawk code? November Sierra Bravo. 7027. Thank you, 7027. Speedbird 2, Charlie Echo, Longton Center is closed.
Speedbird, so yeah, you
Change
do have a
approved.
lot of. Those are the guys coming in from usually Britain, right? Concorde doesn't really exist, but Concorde is very much alive in the flight sim world, and a lot
American
of the popular
1042,
routes.
5 miles
The
from
way you
Ripon,
program, you
ILS
know,
from
Concorde just has
27
a 9S computer. You don't have a box like this with waypoints. You got to plug in coordinates. I do have the Concorde. I do know how to fly it. I should do a few streams on those too. But anyways, it does fly a lot different than these modern aircraft. It's more outdated avionics, and
Boston Center, November
a lot of the
Sierra
routes
Bravo.
were kind of like pre-planned. There was only really a handful.
Run
One of
5
them
Sierra Bravo, runway
being
33 left, taxi
Boston,
via Bravo,
New York.
Charlie, cross runway 4 left, hold short,
A couple more. I'll have them. I don't want to say something that's not true, but there was a handful.
Bravo, Charlie, cross.
So this is not Boston Airport to the, like, we're flying over
cross runway 4 left on Charlie,
Manchester.
hold short of runway 4 right.
So if that's Manchester, Boston is just out in the distance there near the water.
4
We
left
are
on Charlie, hold
exactly 40 miles off Boston, so we should be there soon.
November Sierra Bravo.
This guy really took us down fast, huh? I mean,
American 1042, wind 340 at 5, runway
at this
27.
point,
Cleared
11,000 is...
Cleared 27.
He brought us down
American
low
1042.
fast, but it's no big deal, no biggie. We were flying before, now we're doing ground speed 350 knots, true airspeed 309 knots, indicated airspeed 270. If you guys are aviator guys, you know why already. This is not a video for that, but depending on the weather and the altitude, you will show different. You'll have different airspeed than a ground speed, and mainly for the sake of air traffic control and for everyone being on the same page and to control aircraft, it's more reliable to use indicated airspeed, which is the airflow, rather than how fast you're moving across the ground, which is relative to your
runway
altitude.
16, thanks to
That's what
you
I
here.
should
16 BSCR 841.
Boston Center. So when are we gonna go? So we're starting to see the airport come into vision. So that scratchy sound is Vatsim. So some people, they'll fly, maybe they're new, they're shy to use their voice. It's their first time flying with air traffic control, they're a bit shy, and they'll opt for text. You do need to check the box when you're filing your flight plan.
Air Canada 11 Heavy, verify you have information kilo, expect the RNAV X-ray, runway 33 left approach.
Air Canada 11 Heavy, kilo on board now, RNAV X-ray 33 left will be expected, Air Canada 11. So we just cleared that. So he's clearing us, so we got to go back into the box. It's not going to be a visual. He wants us to fly RNAV. So the
Air
RNAV...
Canada 11 Heavy, when able, proceed direct Uke.
Sorry, I have nothing in the box anymore after you cleared me to Boston. Can you spell out the waypoint?
Yeah, Air Canada 11 Heavy, clear direct Uke. It's on RNAV X-ray, runway 33 left.
Okay, it's one of the transitions for the... So RNAV... You said RNAV X-ray? RNAV X-ray 33 left. So that's this approach. Uke. Perfect. Excellent. So now... What is he saying? Okay, noise abatement procedures. Okay. So we need to organize the box a bit here because now, like...
American 1042, cross runway 4 right on Echo, hold short of runway 4 left.
Cross 4 right on Echo, hold
So
4 left, American
we obviously
1042.
don't want to go back and do the ocean
Air
again,
Canada
right?
11
That
Heavy,
makes
I
sense.
just sent you some more information about the approach. When you have the RNAV X-ray runway 3 to the chart, you should be able to find the way point.
I'm sorry, you talking about Uke? I do have Uke in the box. You'd like me to go direct Uke, Air Canada 11?
Yeah, Air Canada 11 Heavy, direct Uke, and descend and maintain 7,000.
7,000 direct Uke, Air Canada 11 Heavy. So we just set up the box here. So we're gonna do this circle Uke, go around, slow down the aircraft, and then come in for the RNAV. Let's give it a try. When we go around, if we feel like doing the visual, we'll do the visual. It's fun flying all this autopilot, studying the systems and all that, but even in real life, you know, a lot of the time they'll have the precision approach available, but when they're on short final,
5
they'll just like turn off the autopilot and then land the plane.
American 1042, cross runway 4
So
left.
make sure we're on
Echo,
LNAV mode
join
and it's
Alpha.
displayed here, so it's going to continue to fly the purple line. We just adjusted the box.
Cross 4 left at
So we're going to Uke now,
Echo.
and then the altitude
join
as follows.
Alpha. We're actually
Oops, I
going
didn't
straight
start the
at the
descent.
Bravo
Flight level
18.
change.
Perfect.
Aircraft should start descending to 7,000. We have plenty of time, 12 nautical miles to get there.
Air
And then
Canada
after
11 Heavy, I don't think you're going to be able to make the descent. Do you want me to give you a quick box for altitude, or if you want, I can also have you join the the approach at Brunel if you'd prefer that.
I could be at 7,000 for Uke, no problem.
Okay, Canada 11 Heavy, cross Uke at 7,000, cleared RNAV X-ray, only 3 to left approach.
Roger, thank you, Air Canada 11. So I don't know. He thought that maybe we wouldn't make the descent, but we definitely did. I just brought the air brakes out just to, you know, get that pitch angle down a bit.
615, descend to maintain flight level 320, maintain 1,000 feet per minute or greater.
So this is the city of Boston right here.
Ice there 615, descend to maintain flight level 320, maintain 1,000 feet a minute or greater.
The city of Boston. You can see some aircraft on the ground here.
Ice there 615, Boston Center. Sorry about that, go ahead for Ice
777.
Ice there 615, just maintain flight level 340. Now traffic
Cool.
at your 11
So we're
o'clock
coming on the
for
downwind
30
here.
miles, a
This
northeast
is the RNAV.
the Airbus 1,000 people. So maintain
Usually you fly the RNAV with the VNAV, but since this is a beta version of the Flight Factor aircraft, the VNAV is wonky, it doesn't really work. I don't really mind, I like flying it with vertical speed or flight level change, and I like kind of looking at the box, and you know, the art of flying is to be able to like eyeball your descent and stuff, right? So I'm wondering what I'm going to do when I go around. I'll probably ride out the LNAV and then just manage the vertical side on my own. So now he's not going to give us any more clearances because he cleared us for the RNAV. So now we are responsible for the rest of the descent. Sometimes, like when I was new, you sit there, you're waiting for him to clear you down lower, and then you overfly it without descending, and then you're in trouble. So for the noise abatement procedures, we do need to slow down the aircraft. That was one of the things that I did look into.
714-10, descend via Robux 3
So we got to hit
runway
Uke at 230 knots for the noise abatement,
3001.
which is like I guess a real life procedure over Boston. I guess there's a lot of residential homes. So we're going to be pulling out flaps a bit earlier here. As you can see, we are already approaching like a flap 1 speed. I brought out flap 5
descend
wide.
via Robux 3 runway 33 left.
Still have the
3001.
Cleared before, before.
Still have the
Yeah, so Proby's on the Robux 3.
it's a
So
bit too
you go
much
to Red
flaps. Let's
Proby,
bring that
and then you
back.
descend via the arrival starting at Proby.
We want to go down to around 210 knots.
Copy, just go ahead. Down at
Bring
Proby,
up
the
air brakes.
star.
Thank you very much.
So in 2 nautical miles, we want 5,000 or greater. Should be good for that. Hold. That's not good. Flight level change. So again, how flight level change works is that it's going to speed the aircraft down before the profile. So now we need to lose,
runway heading.
we need to lose speed a bit faster. 214. Bring the air brakes back up.
Wind 280 at 6.
I'm going to arm the speed brakes now, just for the landing. You can see it pop up, speed brake armed.
November
Just bring it back to this
Sierra
detent.
Bravo, squawk 7027.
And we are going to start descending more. 39. Let's put 2,000 in the box. And then we should be able to, that should work.
November 0 Sierra Bravo, squawk 7027.
So now we can zoom in a bit more. We'll fly this RNAV approach basically by hand or by eye. And then on short final, fly visual.
Heavy 40 at 5, runway 33 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, 33 left for Canada 11 Heavy. So let's see, I'm not really used to this approach.
Cross.
He gave it to us really late. Do I have time for the landing calculation? I don't have the calculation for the right one way, but it was auto brakes 4, so let's try auto brakes 4. Let's bring out more flaps. We're going to want to descend the aircraft.
Airspeed 332, Moncton Center is closed. You're good to change. Have a good night.
22 for Airspeed 3.
3,000 or greater. We should be good. Let's bring out landing lights up here. Taxi runway lights. We could bring out the landing gear. It's going to give us a bit of drag so we can bleed off a bit of speed. So now we want 210 knots at Trice, but then after that we want to pretty much quickly go down to 170 knots. So let's put that into the box here. And let's get ready for this instrument approach. I like to bring the heading around and line it up with the runway. So if we do need to fly go around and we are like task saturated, we can just engage autopilot and press heading mode, and 329 is the runway heading. So now the aircraft is turning. They call this a VNAV, like a RNAV approach, because of like this like turn on final. It's gonna be some fancy stuff there, or we die, one or the other. So let's bring out more flaps. As you can see, the aircraft is slowing down. This is the stall speed approaching.
It's in the route I sent you. And let me know when you're ready to push.
Okay. So our landing speed around 136 knots. So let's bring the speed down a bit more. And we're gonna increase to our landing flaps. We should have the runway in sight at some point. If we look here, the runway's right here. So we're coming. Usually people are stabilized from much further out. So it is very much something that you want to fly on the RNAV with these turns and with the vertical profile set. But since the VNAV didn't work, we did a decent job eyeballing this. And now
Mountain 8401,
let's just get the
contact,
runway in sight, and then I'll try
3000, say altitude.
to nail this landing.
We're at 2,000 right now. I maintain 3,000, not 84.
Okay, so reducing speed just a tad more.
Mountain 8401, turn
reference
left heading
speed.
060, when able, proceed.
right
Correction, when able, intercept Victor 167.
This is going to be an interesting.
060 when people intercept the radio for not 84.
Okay, so I think I'm going to take control here so we're not too high on the turn. Just a sec here. Okay, so here we are. It's quite the technical arrival. I like him. I like this guy. He challenged us. You know, a lot of times you just kind of, they just like people fly the ILS all day, push button, pilot. Okay. I mean, there is skill in there too. I'm not saying I'm where I need to be. We're all here learning, getting better. So now I got maximum flaps. We're at the reference speed, basically fully stabilized. The aircraft is trying to, so here we're gonna fly the rest of the approach ourselves. Turn off the auto throttles, bring up the the throttle, sorry. And now we're just gonna try to fly the purple line, fly the RNAV by hand, make that turn. We have the runway in sight. It's right there. We are on the profile. Gonna reduce gas as we pitch the nose down. So now we're gonna turn. We're gonna start that turn. I'm actually doing much better than I thought. Okay, we're looking actually very good. Very stabilized. Controlling the throttles by hand. We're looking good. No autopilot. I'm gonna increase power just a bit. Don't want to slip.
Approaching 3 left.
Okay, short final. Stabilize the aircraft. We'll fly visual here. We're pretty much right on the profile, maybe a bit high, to a tad, if you look at the purple triangle here, but we're looking all around very solid. Let's do this. Let's fly
400.
Let's line up a bit more. It's not
300.
Gun the engines a little bit, just to make sure we don't land in the water here. Wings level. Full stabilize.
200.
We're looking good. 2 red, 2 white. That's exactly what you want to see on the poppies. Clear the ILS antennas. Just try and get a bit of rudder to center up a bit. Wings level.
50,
Flare the
40,
aircraft.
30, 20, 10.
And touchdown is 777. We got the nose down. Rudder. Try to hold the center line as we bring in maximum thrust. Reverse. Just a bit of toe brakes, not that much. We'll take the high speed takeoff over there. So I just disengaged the reversers. Should welcome us to Boston any second now. we are definitely cleared to cross this. Okay, so let's get off the runway here. So what you want to do is when you exit the runway, you're gonna want to
runway 22 right, and then join Bravo and Zulu
Approaching
to
4
the gate.
left.
Did he say Bravo and Zulu to the gate? Let me pull up the map. So this is the whole short line, but he already called us and he cleared us to cross the runway like right away. I'm just pulling up the map here on Navigraph. Thank you very much. Canada 11 cleared to the ramp via Bravo Zulu, was it?
Canada 11, I think that's correct. Bravo and Zulu.
I'm not seeing Zulu on the map. Sorry, just one sec. I'm looking for Zulu on my version of the map here. Okie dokie. Pretty sure it's this way.
Mountain 8401,
Approaching 4 left.
computer fighting 140, vector 40, visual approach, 124,
Let's transfer the visual for Mountain 801.
Mountain 8401, mark unit altimeter 3002.
3002.
This is Bravo.
ISR 615, cross Calverton and maintain 12000 at 250 knots, Canada altimeter 3001.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you repeat the waypoint for I-615?
Completed the flight
ISR 615, cross
to
Calverton
Boston.
and maintain 12000 at 250.
Calverton at 12000, 250, Southern 3001, I-615.
Is this Zulu? I don't know, but we're gonna get off here anyways. So this was like basically first time just testing out the stream. I'm gonna go and make sure the sound was good, tweak a few things so that it can improve. I'm gonna try to find a way to get some other stuff up on screen so that we can brief like the Navigraph charts on screen, look at approaches, arrivals, etc.
Bravo requesting permission to take off runway 33 left.
Okay, we're gonna bring the flaps back. The speed brakes should have been done exiting the runway. We'll bring her in, bring her home right to the gate. Bring her home right to the gate. So I use I want to upgrade my yoke to like a Boeing yoke using the Cytec one. I found an old joystick that I binded the buttons for, or the functions should I say, for the nose wheel tiller. So you can actually use the tiller with the joystick, and then once you pick up speed, then you can control the aircraft using the rudder pedals if you're on the runway. Honeycomb Bravo and the radio panel. It's pretty good to have. Whoops. So I thought the brakes were on, but they weren't. So brakes are on. Aircraft has come to a complete stop. So the reason why we turned on the APU before is that now we can just go ahead and shut down the engines because ground won't approach the plane unless we do that. And then we can get like the purser on the phone.
What
and
can I do for you?
you can sim your level of immersion with like deplaning the passengers, restocking the catering. So we're gonna ask them to start unloading.
We are ready for the passengers to deplane.
Yes, sir. Passengers are disembarking.
And then you can look here, loading service, and then you'll see the passengers starting to deplane with the cargo and stuff. So after talking to the purser, we click here. We want to talk to the ground crew, which they'll only pick up the phone if my engines are off. But then if you show up with your APU off, then you gotta like sit here and turn on your APU and wait for a few minutes before
Hello,
talking to ground,
this
which
is the
is
captain
annoying.
speaking.
Ground here.
So now that we're on the phone with ground, we can come here, we can have them connect all of
We
this,
are in need of some
air
equipment.
conditioning,
What can I call for you?
transport lower
Primary
fuel.
GPU.
November, Sierra
Most
Bravo,
assuredly.
Boston, Spencer.
So yeah, going back here, loading, you can see passengers are deplaning.
Approximately 30.
You can start retouching the catering, whatever. I don't know how real this is, it just kind of falls from the sky, but whatever. So now you can see all this, passengers deplaning, this and that. Typically, you don't want to be shining your lights right into the terminal. You got people sleeping on chairs in there, waiting for their delayed flights.
8401,
So once
Martha's
that's
Vineyard
off,
Airport at 1 o'clock, 15 miles,
You
report
can
the
turn
field.
the hydraulics off. Before they're fully off, I like to reset the trim. If I can bring it back to... Oh, no. Engine's already off. No chance.
Boston
Not a big
Center
deal.
radio check. November, Sierra Bravo.
Hydraulics off. Fuel pumps off.
7 Sierra Bravo, how do you read?
It's the last flight of the night, so I'm not going to leave it half on like I did.
November 0
from
Sierra Bravo, how do you read?
Toronto to Ottawa, so here can turn all of the air off. APU bleed valve. I can turn off the APU now because we have ground power available. That's why ground
I have
things.
you
We can
5
turn
by
the
5.
APU off.
Hear me? I have you.
Cabin, utility, seats off.
Right, so,
Air
where do I
view
start
off.
here?
Window heat off.
You were instructed to hold short of runway
Emergency
4 right.
lights.
You did not follow that instruction.
Oh,
You subsequently crossed runway 27 with the clearance.
Okay, trim air off. All this
Ignored
off.
three of my radio calls
The
when
fans
I asked
off.
you to squawk code 7027.
The rest
which new to the
is
network,
good.
and
You
we
can,
welcome that. But you
turn these
do
off.
need to have at least a base level of
And then-
competency, and you do need to be able to follow just the basic instructions
This
to
guy's
be able
getting destroyed.
to be successful here. So, if you do want me to work with you, I'm willing to try that. But I need you to do instructions. Starting with
See, don't mess around on that sim.
code
Learn
of
your shit, because then the
7027.
ATC is going to destroy
More
you.
time practicing offline before you start to fly on the network.
This guy just got chewed out.
Oh, thank you.
I kind of low-key feel bad for that guy that just got chewed out. by
The
the
really
traffic
important
controller.
thing would be that you don't cross a runway without receiving a clearance to do so. So if you come to a runway and you haven't been specifically told to cross that runway, then please, please, please just don't cross it. Just stop and ask us for clearance.
Okay, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Damn. bro.
Number 0 Sierra Bravo, so you're walking the correct code now. Wind 340.
That's it. That's basically
Runway
it. So
33
that's
left.
a
Clear for
flight.
takeoff.
We just ran Ottawa, Canada to Boston. It was a short flight. Gate to gate. I forgot to close the clock, but we're at 62 minutes.
98401, there's a approach runway 24.
So there you have it. I'm my first day streaming, first time attempting any of this online. So cool. Don't expect anyone saw it, but you know, just gonna keep it up, do it every day, see if it grows, and be flying in different spots, and yeah, talking trash along the way, and just having some fun. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.